What if I told you that learning a new language has nothing to do with intelligence? Instead, it's about how well you can manipulate your brain. Most people fail at learning languages not because they lack talent, but because their brain resists change. Your mind prefers efficiency. It sticks to what's familiar. New languages feel like a threat, making retention difficult. According to the forgetting curve, 70% of new information disappears within 24 hours, unless reinforced properly. But what if you could trick your brain into learning faster? In this video, I'll show you psychological hacks, cognitive biases you can exploit, and a structured 30-day method to rewire your brain and master any language. Let's begin. Hack number 1, the illusion of familiarity. Your brain naturally resists new languages because it prioritizes efficiency and familiarity. However, by manipulating its perception, you can make a foreign language feel familiar, making learning much easier. The mere exposure effect suggests that repeated exposure to something increases recognition and retention. The more frequently your brain encounters a language, the more it begins to accept it as normal. To apply this, change your phone, laptop, and apps to the target language. Every time you check notifications, your brain will unconsciously process new words. Surround yourself with high-frequency vocabulary by labeling household items with sticky notes or digital reminders. Seeing and interacting with these words daily reinforces learning without active effort. Another powerful trick is consuming familiar content in the target language. Watching cartoons, movies, or books you've already read allows your brain to connect new words with known concepts. Since the story is familiar, understanding becomes easier, reducing resistance. By embedding the language into daily life, your brain starts treating it as second nature. Hack number 2, the psychological pressure technique, fear-based learning. The brain retains information more effectively under pressure, a concept rooted in the survival instinct theory. When faced with real consequences, the mind sharpens focus and absorbs details faster. One way to use this to your advantage is by setting a public deadline, announcing to friends, family, or social media that you will learn a language in 30 days. This external pressure forces accountability and enhances motivation. Another technique is engaging in live conversation sessions where mistakes feel real. Language exchange platforms like Tandem or italki create environments where the fear of making errors heightens awareness, leading to better retention. Real-world exposure is even more effective. Ordering food in the target language, talking to strangers, or joining meetups pushes your brain into survival mode, making learning more instinctive. By creating controlled pressure, you bypass hesitation and force yourself to adapt, accelerating fluency through necessity rather than passive learning. Hack number 3, the mind palace method, Loci technique. The brain is wired to remember locations better than random information, which is why people rarely forget the layout of their childhood home but struggle with memorizing lists. The mind palace method takes advantage of this by linking words to specific locations, making recall effortless. When learning new vocabulary, connecting words to familiar spaces strengthens memory. Instead of memorizing the French word porte for door in isolation, mentally place it on your actual door. Every time you walk through, the word reinforces itself. This method is powerful because it taps into spatial memory, a function the brain naturally prioritizes. Creating exaggerated or unusual connections enhances retention. Envision your bed covered in books to remember libro in Spanish. Walking through these mental spaces and retrieving words from their assigned spots makes learning active rather than passive. The stronger the connection between location and word, the easier recall becomes, turning language acquisition into an engaging, almost automatic process. Hack number 4, the uncanny emotion effect. The brain is wired to remember emotionally charged experiences far more than neutral ones. This is why you recall embarrassing moments from years ago, but struggle to remember a list of random words you studied yesterday. Attaching strong emotions, shock, humor, fear, or absurdity, to vocabulary forces the brain to prioritize that information. If learning the Japanese word for fire, hai, huo, visualizing your hand suddenly bursting into flames every time you light a match makes it unforgettable. The stronger the image, the better it sticks. Dark humor also works because it disrupts normal thought patterns, creating an unexpected emotional reaction. Instead of memorizing pato, as the Spanish word for duck, imagine an aggressive duck chasing you with a knife. The absurdity grabs your brain's attention, making recall automatic. Emotional connections create sticky memories because they bypass passive learning, triggering the same instinctive recall as personal experiences. The stranger and more exaggerated, the more effective it becomes. Hack number 5, desirable difficulty, productive struggle. The brain strengthens memories when it struggles to retrieve information. Dr. Robert Bjork's research shows that making learning slightly harder improves retention. Rereading notes feels productive, but it creates an illusion of knowledge. Instead of passively reviewing words, forcing yourself to recall them first makes a huge difference. It's frustrating at first, but that mental effort cements the memory. Spaced repetition apps like Anki are effective, but they work best with delayed recall tests. Instead of flipping through flashcards instantly, wait a few hours or even a day before testing yourself. This forces the brain to work harder, reinforcing the connections. Studying in different places also enhances memory. The brain ties information to context, so if you always learn in the same spot, recall becomes location dependent. Switching between a cafe, a park, or different rooms forces the brain to store information more flexibly, making retrieval easier no matter where you are. Hack number 6, the parrot technique, shadowing method. Speaking a new language feels unnatural at first because the brain tries to translate everything into your native tongue. The shadowing method eliminates this habit by forcing instant speech production. Instead of passively listening, you mimic a native speaker in real time, matching their intonation, rhythm, and pauses without overanalyzing the meaning. It's how babies learn. They don't stop to think about grammar. They absorb sound patterns and repeat them instinctively. Doing this while walking or moving increases retention since physical activity enhances cognitive processing. Studies show that movement boosts neural connections, making it easier to remember and recall speech patterns. The key is repetition and speed. At first it feels awkward, but over time, the brain starts recognizing sentence structures without needing translation. By mimicking real conversations, pronunciation improves naturally, and speech becomes automatic. The focus shifts from individual words to fluid communication, bridging the gap between passive knowledge and active speaking ability. Hack number 7, the 1% rule, minimal but daily speaking. Speaking a new language feels overwhelming because the brain resists what feels unnatural. But the key isn't speaking perfectly, it's speaking consistently, even in small amounts. The brain builds fluency through repetition, and the 1% rule ensures progress without burnout. Speaking just a little more each day, whether by narrating actions, recording thoughts, or using AI chatbots, strengthens neural pathways. These tiny efforts compound over time, creating a snowball effect that leads to fluency. Listening is just as powerful. Silent conversation meetups, where participants listen without pressure to respond, help the brain absorb pronunciation, rhythm, and structure. Hearing native speakers regularly tricks the mind into treating the language as familiar, even when words don't make sense at first. Passive listening plants subconscious connections. The goal isn't perfection, but persistence. Small daily efforts keep the brain engaged, reducing hesitation and making speaking feel second nature over time. The key is showing up every single day. The first week is all about making the language part of everyday life. Changing phone settings forces daily interaction, while following social media accounts in the target language ensures passive exposure. Listening to music, podcasts, or TV shows, even without understanding, accustoms the brain to rhythm and pronunciation. Learning 50 to 100 essential words using emotional associations helps with retention, and shadowing native speech for just 5 minutes daily builds confidence without pressure. By the second week, memory techniques take priority. The mind-palace method anchors words to familiar spaces, making recall effortless. Spaced repetition prevents forgetting by reinforcing vocabulary at strategic intervals. Speaking for at least 10 minutes a day pushes through discomfort, while public accountability, telling others about the goal, adds motivation. Real conversations, no matter how messy, accelerate learning by forcing real-time processing. In week 3, active speaking increases to 20 minutes daily. The 1% rule ensures steady improvement, making speech feel more natural. Role-playing a new identity in the language shifts mindset, reducing self-doubt. The final week demands full immersion. Switching entirely to the target language removes fallback options, forcing adaptation. Daily conversations replace passive learning, training the brain to think and respond instinctively. This mental shift cements fluency faster than traditional methods. Your brain has been resisting new languages, but now you have the exact tools to take control. The difference between those who succeed and those who give up isn't intelligence, it's strategy and consistency. Every technique you've learned today is backed by psychology, designed to work with your brain instead of against it. The only thing left is for you to apply them. Most people wait for the perfect moment, but progress happens when you start, not when you feel ready. Small daily efforts add up, and the sooner you take action, the sooner fluency becomes your reality. The question isn't can you do this, it's will you? Which brain manipulation hack are you going to try first? Comment below. If you want more advanced techniques, hit like and let me know. Keep going, stay consistent, and watch how fast your brain adapts. Fluency isn't a dream, it's a decision.